back to Dead Good Book Reviews. I'm Judith and you're watching another review video here on the channel. This is another rapid fire review where I try and review new releases within as little time as possible from reading them. Did that make sense? Today we're talking about the latest book in Shannon Maguire's Wayward children's series, Lost in the Moment and Found. Some quick disclaimers before we start. I was sent a digital review copy of this book for free from the publisher, which is why it is floating here ethereally rather than being in my hands. Regardless of where it's come from, nobody's paying me to talk about books and all opinions are my own. I'm going to keep this as spoiler-free as humanly possible. If you do want to go into this knowing absolutely nothing, click away now. This is a novella. Spoiling it isn't going to make a huge difference for you, but I appreciate some people want to go in completely fresh. I don't know why those people would choose to watch a review video, but here we are. And lastly, I will link the story graph for the book below, and I highly, strongly, deeply urge you to go and look at the content warnings for this book because this is a pretty dark one. I'm currently filming this on the 23rd of November 2022. I think this video is going to go up in early 2023, so hello from the past. Is it still cold? I'm cold right now. I've got infinite jumpers on. This book actually comes out on the 10th of January 2023, so it is right at the start of the new year. I do already have a video up for the rest of the Wayward Children series, so this is kind of an add-on to that. I don't think this is going to be a super long video. We're just going to chat about this addition to the series, and basically I'll keep making these as we go on. But if you haven't already encountered Shannon Maguire or the Wayward Children series, Shannon Maguire has written an awful lot under a lot of various different pen names, including Myra Grant. There's another one that's already gone from my brain because there are so many of them, but the Wayward Children series is her series that I personally have read. These are a collection of portal fantasy books and basically are books about a world in which doors open and children go through those doors, and we encounter different characters, and sometimes we have recurring themes. There is basically every other book is a recurring book where there's a quest of some sort, and every other book that isn't that is a portal fantasy that sort of semi-stands on its own or exists in its own world. This is one of the ones that stands on its own. I think I would agree with Justine, who's very recently put out a video reading this. I would agree that this is probably one of the few books that genuinely does stand on its own since Every Hearted Doorway. I think there's only 2 moments where other bits of the other books are referenced, and you don't need to know those to read the book. So while we've had a few other books that have claimed to be You Could Start Here, I know Across the Grass Green Fields was one. I think this is a place you could start. It wouldn't be where I would start for a number of reasons we'll come on to. So in this book, our main character Antsy is having something of a difficult time at home after her father dies and her mother remarries a very horrible man, which is where some of those aforementioned content warnings come in. So Antsy runs away and encounters the shop where the lost things go, goes through a door, as happens in these books, and arrives in the shop, which is unsurprisingly where lost things go, and she starts working in the shop and uncovering what's really going on. And what I really like about this book, on top of all the others, is this book starts to explore what a world where these doors exist looks like and where people are aware of the doors. As with pretty much every other book in the Wayward Children series, I thought the prose in this was absolutely lovely. They're really enjoyable to just read. They are the perfect amount of descriptiveness for me, and they have a lot of really I feel honest child characters in them who don't feel overly intelligent or overly written as children. They just feel very honest, and Antsy does as well. I think that's part of the reason I've really enjoyed listening to these on audiobook. For this one, I read it physically, but in the future, I would really like to listen to the audiobook for these. I'm pretty sure Shannon Maguire narrates all the audiobooks as well, so that's always nice. On top of that, I think the general concept of the book, the idea of this shop of lost things and exploring the doors a little bit more, was a very interesting topic for a book. I really liked exploring that idea, and I liked thinking about the doors from a perspective that isn't our current world's perspective on them. I thought that was really interesting, and overall I liked the main plot of this book. I didn't love the ending, but we'll come on to that. This is a very emotional book for a number of reasons. Partly the subject matter and Antsy's home life is very difficult to read, but also Antsy's emotions in response to things that happen in the shop and things that happen outside of the shop. It's a very emotionally driven book, and I very much enjoyed that. I've been reading a lot of kind of broadly sword and sorcery kind of books, and I hadn't really been reading anything with a lot of emotional depth, and this definitely had that, which I appreciated. The other books in the series definitely do as well. I would say it's on par with those. Maybe a little bit more emotional. I think where this sits within the rest of the series is also really interesting. I already mentioned kind of how it kind of stands alone. I think that this will be a really interesting one when we have more books in the series, and whether Antsy comes back up as another character again. I think that will be fascinating. I don't know if that's planned. I haven't looked at when the next one is due out. I think the one most recent was Where the Drowned Girls Go, and that was in the autumn of 2022? I'm pretty sure. I genuinely can't remember. Editing Judith will have to correct me. I hope we have another one out soon, but I'd really like to see more from Antsy, and I think that's part of where one of my criticisms, I guess, of the book is it feels very short. A lot of the story is given over to the first half of the book where we get Antsy and home life and so such, and it felt like the ending came very suddenly, and I think that was intentional, and I can't really pass judgment on whether that was too fast or not until I know whether Anstey's going to show up again and whether we're going to get any more resolution to some of the things in the story. I mentioned the content warnings. I'm going to keep mentioning them because I really do think it's worth mentioning. Anstey goes through a lot that I'm not going to get into here because I don't want this video to need content warnings on top of that. Based on the author's note at the start of the book, this is very much written from Shannon Maguire's personal experience. I'm writing a book that's sort of processing and dealing with some of those things. I don't know that for certain in terms of the processing side of things, but it definitely draws on her own life experience. I think that's why so much of the focus is given over to that first section of the book, and it is very difficult to read. It is very much I would urge you to read Shannon Maguire's note at the start. I found it very reassuring, and I think it definitely helps make the book feel more in keeping with the other books in the series, which obviously do deal with difficult topics. This is one of the ones that feels the most direct. So other than the fact that this left me very much wanting more, I would say that this is well worth reading, and I like where it sits amongst the other Wayward children's books. I don't know if this means we're going to have a bit more of a turn into directly dealing with some more of those themes in these books. While they've never been hiding those ideas around raising your children in a way that's not terrible, they haven't really run head on to them in the same way that this book really did. And I'll be interested to see where the trajectory of the series goes from here. If I didn't know this book was part of a wider series, and if I hadn't read the other books and seen how the other books go, if I started with this, I don't know if I want to go on with it, just because I wouldn't necessarily want to deal with that kind of very dark setting. However, that is just me personally, and I know some people have a different tolerance for that kind of fiction. So I would say if you're thinking about reading this, I would start with the actual start of the Wayward Children series and read through publication order up to this point. I wouldn't start with this, but you can. I don't have any comparisons for this that aren't already the Wayward Children books. I think potentially there are some other things I could bring up, but I think I'd just be looking for books that also made me feel like I needed content warnings, which is probably not what I want to start recommending here. So I would say go and read Wayward Children if you haven't already. That's my recommendation. I might have other recommendations in that original video, which I'll link somewhere so you can check it out. Overall, if you're a fan of this series, I think you will enjoy this book. If you haven't read this series before, I wouldn't start with this, but I do think it's a very, very good novella, and I'm really interested to see what the plan for the next book is, so we can see if we meet Anstey again, because I would very much like to. Have you read this? Do you have plans to? Let me know down in the comments below. If you haven't already, while you're commenting, please do subscribe. It makes me feel loved and appreciated. You can also follow me on social media. Come hang out on Discord where we have chill chats about books. I want to say a huge thank you to all the ghosts who haunt me on Patreon, who support the channel and get early access to videos, bonus content and live streams. They are the best. They will be getting this many weeks early, so if you would like to join their number, click that link down in the description. Thank you so much for watching. That's all from me, and I will see you in the next one.
It's gonna be some bloopers now.
And lastly, I will link the story graph for the book. So where we've had a couple of different bits, the Cross the Grass Green Fields.